When the sun is really blazing again and you can only dream of the outdoor pool because work or whatever else has you chained to your desk, you have to come up with a way to keep the sweat at bay. The company DREO offers two devices for this. To be precise, these are two misting fans, meaning fans with a misting function. Here, water is evaporated using ultrasound and distributed into the room with the airflow. You will see what that achieves and how the device is performed in this video. So just stay tuned. Let's go. Okay, let's start with our DREO misting fan comparison. But before we get to the practical test, let's first look at some basic information. In terms of design, the fans are quite similar. Both run on conventional mains power without a battery, have a touch display for the many settings, and an LED indicator. They also each come with a remote control and are Wi-Fi enabled, so they can be controlled via the DREO app on a phone or tablet. Differences can be found in the rated power, for example. At 96 watts, the 765s is twice as high as the 516s. The cable is also 30 centimeters longer at about 1.8 meters. Furthermore, the small DREO's water tank holds just over 1 liter, while the large DREO's tank fits almost 6 liters. All of this is also reflected in the features. In general, both have the same core functions, but those of the tower are generally more differentiated. For example, with 12 ventilation speed settings, it has twice as many compared to the smaller fan. In addition to ventilation, there is also misting, where vaporized water is added to the airflow. This is available on the devices in levels 0 to 3 or 4 respectively. Both devices also have a turbo mode, where the ventilation and the misting are turned up to the maximum at the same time. In addition to the core functions, there are many other features that both have in common. A timer can be set for when the device should switch off automatically. This can last up to 12 hours in 1-hour increments. Instead of setting the misting to a level, you can also specify a percentage for the desired humidity level, adjustable in 5% steps ranging from 30 to 60% for the small DREO, or 40 to 90% for the large DREO. Both also have an oscillation function, which for once is more nuanced on the 516s. While the rotation angle on the 765s is only 90 degrees, it is up to 150 degrees on the smaller device. Multiple angles can also be selected. On the fan itself, these are 90, 120, and 150 degrees. In the app, pretty much everything up to the maximum is possible in 10-degree increments. You can even direct the fan to a specific position where it will then remain. In return, the 765 has two modes that the 516 does not have: sleep mode and auto mode. In sleep mode, the fan speed drops over time, making it quieter so it does not wake you up as easily while sleeping. In auto mode, the device adjusts to the room temperature, increasing or decreasing the fan speed as it gets hotter or cooler. In addition to the touch display, both models can also be operated using a remote control. At first glance, they look the same for both devices. On closer inspection, however, you can see that the turbo button on the 516 has been replaced by a mode button on the 765. Here, you can rotate through the different modes at the push of a button: normal mode, sleep mode, auto mode, and turbo mode. Also, the remote control buttons glow in the dark. In the app, both DREOs offer additional features that cannot be used with the buttons on the device or the remote. For example, you can create schedules, read the exact room temperature and humidity, set the child lock, or activate and manage voice control via Alexa or Google Assistant. There is also a cleaning reminder after 100 days and various modes for the ambient light. We dedicate the final point in our overview to the design and build quality. All in all, both products appear to be high quality. Nothing rattles, and there are no visible gaps. The ambient light can provide decorative accents if you adjust it accordingly via the app. The only question is where to put the devices. What you need to keep in mind is to maintain distance from walls and furniture. The reason for this is that they could get damp from the misting function and then grow mold. Furthermore, the smaller 516s must be placed at a height of at least 60 centimeters, for example on a desk or a dresser. Here too, the reason is the moisture. It is intended to prevent the floor from getting damp. The 765s, however, must be placed on the floor and needs a spot, ideally in a corner of the room, to cool it down optimally. All in all, we can say this. The 516S stands out as a desk fan primarily due to its compact size and its highly flexible oscillation. The 765S, on the other hand, requires a bit more space, but offers more power, a more nuanced speed system, and 2 additional modes. By the way, if you are interested in one of the products, take a look at the description below the video. We have linked both of them there for you. And otherwise, we will now continue with the essentials, namely our practical test. The first question here is, what do you have to do before the device can be used for the first time? With the smaller 516, it is quite simple. Once you have found a place for it, you just have to plug it in and fill the water tank. After that, it is ready for use. Setting it up via Wi-Fi with the DREO app is optional. For the larger 765, it is basically the same, only the base has to be attached on it first. Next, let's move on to the operation. The buttons on both respond well and beep when touched. Unlike the smaller one, the buttons on the larger DREO light up when it is switched on. When off, only the power and timer buttons are lit. As for the remote controls, you have to aim quite precisely for the device to respond. You also have to press the buttons firmly. It is not enough to just hear the mechanical click of the button. Moving on to our measurements. We have broken down the points of wind speed, room cooling, volume, and power consumption for you. For the wind measurement, we used an anemometer at a distance of about 1 meter to measure the meters per second. Here, the table fan ranges between 1.45 on level 1 and 3.8 on level 6. The differences between the individual levels are quite noticeable, which should provide some cooling in midsummer. The tower fan, however, has a bit more range with its 12 speed settings. Here, the first level starts at about 1.1 meters per second, while the 12th level ends at 4.6 meters per second. So, there is about one more level at the lower end, while the last level of the 516S corresponds to about the 8th level of the 765S. At the higher end, the larger DREO provides significantly more power than the smaller one. Regarding room cooling, both devices were quite similar. After about 3 minutes, they cooled the thermostat down from 22 degrees Celsius and 50% humidity to about 17 degrees Celsius and 84%, respectively. As for our humidity test, both devices performed well. In any case, no moisture was visible on our test objects. They were also very similar in terms of volume. The first ventilation level of both devices starts at just over 30 decibels, while the final level for both was around 55 decibels. Interestingly, the turbo mode of the 765S was about 7 points quieter at 53 decibels than that of the 516S. Our final set of measurements concerns power consumption. Here, the values for the small DREO range from 4.2 watts to 13.1 watts for ventilation. The numbers for the large DREO range from 3.5 up to 40. This data pattern roughly matches our wind measurements, where the large DREO generated stronger wind speeds. For the misting function, you have to add 9.5 to about 12 watts to the ventilation level for the 516S, depending on the setting. For the 765S, that is significantly more. Here, it is 21.5 to 43.5 watts. However, it also has twice as many misting nozzles, so more water must be evaporated at once to compensate for the volume. The biggest difference in performance can then be seen in turbo mode. So, enough about our measurements for now, moving on to safety. And here, several points are crucial for us, namely stability, protection against reaching in, and the carrying handle. Regarding tip-over safety, it works in both misting fans' favor that the water tanks are installed quite low. This shifts the center of gravity further down, which makes tipping over less likely. In addition, the large one also has a slightly wider base for even more stability. As long as a solid surface is chosen for the devices, nothing should happen. And if you now ask yourself whether children's fingers or pet paws could touch the fan blades, these are our results. Although both devices are protected by grills, it might possibly happen if you really try. Especially with the 516S, the distance from the top grill to the rotor is only 3 centimeters. Small children could therefore potentially touch it while running. That is why you should not leave small children unattended in a room with this device. It is a bit more relaxed with the 765s. There, you only reach the rotor blades after 5 centimeters. Both devices have carrying handles. These are quite smooth, but with the large one you can reach in very deep, and it does not tip to the side when lifted. With the smaller DREO, you cannot reach in as deep. In return, it has a small edge on the outer rim of the handle. Since it also barely tips to the side, you should be able to carry it safely from one place to another without any major problems. All in all, our practical test has shown the following. Both devices run perfectly, and you really have to look hard if you want to find something to criticize. In a direct comparison, however, the tower fan performs slightly better, as it can simply provide more power upwards than the smaller desk fan. Let us come to the conclusion, or rather, our comparison winner. If you look solely at performance, the 765s is clearly in the lead. It is larger, has more power, and can therefore cool down larger areas. Nevertheless, the 516s does its job well and is a more cost-efficient alternative, especially for smaller areas. Since we found no major points of criticism, apart from a few minor deductions, we believe both devices are definitely recommended for the summer. With that in mind, if you are interested in one of the products, take a look at the description below the video. We have linked both of them there for you. And if you are still not sure which device is the right one for you, then take a look at this video here. We have compared other fans there, and I am sure you will find the right one for you as well.